Hello, everyone.
Recording in progress.
To start this, my lady and my lord, and all who have died, but especially John Pocket Cowgell, please hold him. Help him reach the Summerlands, and if that is his wish, help him rest, help him rejuvenate. Grant him joy, and bless him as well. With all your gifts, grant us the ability to recall the enjoyment and all that he brought to us. So mote it be. So today is a hard day for many of us. A son, a lover, a confidant, a friend, and a brother has passed away. All of us, in person or online, are here to honor him, to celebrate his life, to grieve together. Whether you have known him since childhood, a decade, or even just a few months, Pocket impacted many of us, many of our lives. You can see it because of this room being packed. I'm sure online's packed. The online support alone has shown that. So I met Pocket a year or so before Aiden and John got married. I was trying to audition for the Ren Fair, and Aiden suggested that I meet with them to discuss my thoughts on it all. You see, Aiden and John, I talked about this guy they had been dating for a few weeks now, and it would be a convenient excuse just to meet him. Before I met him, Aiden described him as kind, giving, patient, and most of all, understanding. I remember thinking, this is so different from the previous encounters. It was like an old friend when I met him, which in many ways he truly was. That night, I also had this sigh of relief, if you will. The part of my soul that Aiden holds relaxed, and I was able to let go of the worry that I have for them. It wasn't long after that in all important ways, John became a brother, or really, a brother-in-law. So there are many ways that I will remember him. This one time, he told me about this wacky shopkeeper that he used during a one-shot D&D session that became the inspiration for one of my favorite characters that I use still to this day. Other times, and perhaps for the way many of us, he played the Fool. An interesting thing about the Fool, in tarot, the Fool represents the beginning and the end of a journey. It is the piece that connects the circle itself. The Fool doesn't know what's before him, and honestly doesn't necessarily care what's behind him. But as he's traveling, he continues forward. For me, Pocket played the Fool like a Pied Piper. He guided the way to a story, whether it was at a Ren Fair, the haunted houses, a tabletop game, or even in relationships. And so to honor him today, I'm going to try to play the Fool, and I hope to do him some justice. So listen, friends, for I have a story for you to share with you. I stand before you as Pocket's friend, his brother, and at his behest, his officiant. See, on the evening he passed away, I was awakened to a sound. A jingle of bells, if you will. I have two cats who like to make noise, right? And I'm used to their nighttime activities, but this even shocked them. But that jingle woke me up, and the sound unexpectedly led me to search my place high and low for it. I couldn't find the source, and I eventually fell in a fitful bit of sleep. And that evening was when I found out he had passed away. That jingle sound started making sense at that point. For the next little while, a couple weeks, I would hear that jingle. I would spend my evenings conversing with him. I would talk to him, There are many days where I was awake, I was asleep. I'd wake up to have another conversation. I'm a grad student as a little bit of a background, which means I'm always busy as well. So, but the night Aiden had told when the service was, the very last paragraph, and where they mentioned the officiant, that's when this became a crazy, crazy amount in my head. Became incessant, and after a few conversations, I said, okay, fine, I'll do it, just please let me sleep. So after I messaged Aiden, I got an affirmative version of that jingle. So my friends, this pocket is the pocket I learned to love from. And all those many years ago, he cares for us, he supports us, he pushes us to be more than what we believe we're capable of. So I offer you my support, and in doing so, I want to hope we can share our experiences. That sound, the jingling, right? I want us all to be able to remember it. So think about a bell for a moment. What does a bell mean to you? Is it a toll of a giant bell that has hollow sorrow? Or is it the light jingles that we hear all around us? Is it harmonizing? Is it strong? Whatever way it is for you, please do us a favor and remember it. Hold it. Breathe with it. I want you guys to remember, if you have a bell, which I hope you do by this point, I want you to start ringing it. Exactly it, right? So everybody can hear him, right? That's him dancing. You know that's what he's doing. For anybody who knows. See the connection. Look around you and find that connection. Everyone in this room is connected some way, if only by John. So remember to breathe. Remember to grieve. Remember to smile. Most of all, thank you. So, at this time, is there anybody who wishes to sing or play a song of some sort around? Yeah?
I have a poem.
Sure. Found me?
Hear the ringing of the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells. How they twinkle, twinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night. With the stars that oversprinkle, all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight. Keeping time, time, time in a sort of runic rhyme. From the tintinnabulation that so musically swells. From the bells, 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 bells. From the jingling and the ringing of the bells. When I met John, he wasn't not Pocket Dead. He was Jockster the Mighty at the Tennessee Renaissance Festival, and he had dressed up completely like him and was walking around enjoying the day. And that's what John did. He enjoyed every day. And about 10 years ago, I had just started the clan. It was a clan of Romani back in the fairy forest, and we sang and we entertained people and we played with the kids. And one of my cast members, Ramsey, had camped out. He was so excited. He was 18. He could camp in the camping ground, and he was so, that big moment. And he came in the next morning, and he was like, I had the best night because Pocket and I sat down and we were just riffing on Disney songs. It was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I was like, that's a show. And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, I mean that needs to be done on Main Street. That's a show. And I was like, we need to find Pocket. And we went out and found him on Main Street because that's where he was, meeting people as they came in and making them feel welcome because that was John. And I said, you need to do this on Main Street. And he said, what will Ed think? And I'm like, it's better to ask forgiveness than permission. So close to the end of the day, it was about 4:30, and I went out and started gathering people, and I was like, you beautiful young lady, would you like to be a judge? Would you like to decide who among these handsome men is the best singer of songs made famous by the mouse? And I pulled them in, and I had 3 girls, and I said, you have this very handsome Kestrel, you have this absolutely dashing Pocket. Who of them sings the best at the Disney songs? Because we weren't on stage, so we could say the D word. And the next year, it was that place, we were on Main Street, and it was so packed that you couldn't get into the booths around where we were at on Main Street. We were spanning all the way across the fair with people gathered to hear the Disney songs. And I turned around as I'm talking to people and getting people interested in it, and eye contact with Ed. And I was like, he stood there the whole time on the edge of the crowd, and I walked up to him and I'm like, hey boss. And he goes, so you can do this every day, right? Yes sir, yes we are, we're gonna be on Main Street every day and do this. He goes, sounds good. And the next year, John said, okay, this is ridiculous. You need to be part of this. I'm like, oh no. I love you, no. And he said, no, we need 3 people, you're gonna be part of this. And I was like, John, I don't have a good enough voice. He said, you have a beautiful voice. And I said, everybody's gonna expect me to sing princess songs, and I sing bass. And he said, so, sing princess songs and bass. And I was like, okay. So I was nervous. I had such stage fright, and I had been acting, I have a degree in it. I had been doing this for years and years, and I was so terrified. And before every show, John would reach out his hand, and he'd take my hand, and he'd say, I'm so proud of you. And the first time I won one of the, because it took me a while.
He was your biggest plotter in that first time.
And the thing was, I have a lot of food allergies, and I had an allergic reaction to something that I'd eaten. So immediately, Benadryl. Right before I was supposed to go do the show. So I was a little relaxed. And I wasn't thinking about stage fright. I really was just thinking about, I'm going to put my foot in front of my next foot, and I'm going to get all the way there. Yes, I am. And I got over there, and John looked at me, and he goes, are you okay? And I'm like, and I went over, and I stood on the stage, and I grabbed hold of the edge of the back of the stage, and I stood there holding myself up, because I was like, I'm going to do this. And I had probably the 1,000-yard stare of someone who was highly dedicated. And he came over, and he's looking at me, and he's like, what's going on? And I said, I had a Benadryl. And he goes, you took a Benadryl. And I'm like, no. I took 2. And he goes, how are you standing up? I said, I have to do the show. And he said, okay, you're good. You good? And I'm like, I'm good. And I won the show because I was relaxed. I didn't care. I was like, just stay upright. Just stand up there, and I'm saying the songs top of my lungs. I was chatting with people and laughing, cutting up, and I'd go back and hold on to the wall. And Ramsey looked at me at the end of the unit after I'd won, and they both turned around and gave me huge hugs, and they both said at the same time, "I'm so proud of you." And I was like, I need someone to carry me back to sleep. And Ramsey looked at me and goes, "Why?" And I said, "Because I'm about to be asleep." I said, "All the adrenaline is gone." And each one of them grabbed an arm, lifted me up off the ground. I am not a small girl. And they carried me back to my area so that I could sit down and take a little nap. But hearing him tell me, "I'm so proud of you," made me believe I could do everything. Not anything, everything. And seeing everybody online talking about how he made them feel. That's John. Because he wasn't worried about how he felt. He wanted everyone else to feel like they belonged. I always told John that the song that he should sing was "You Got a Friend in Me." And he was like, "No, that's not really my thing." And he said, "That's you." He said, "Because you always make people feel that way, that they have a friend in you." And I said, "Well, I learned it from the best." And I truly did. Married me, married court, married you again. So proud of me. Did I knock that down?
I'll just kick it. I've known John for a while. I probably should have typed my speech, so hopefully I can get through and manage my place, because my handwriting is not usually the best. It's even difficult for me to read it. Unfortunately, it's longer than I would like, but it's to be expected. John Boyd, JW, Pocket the Fool. I'm sure a few other names that I may not be aware of. Words can't really explain who this individual was. Though it may be hard, I'm willing to try to put it in words who John was and the deeds that he tried to accomplish. The easiest way I can try to accomplish this is by start from the beginning. I've known him for around 33 years, so I try not to make this any longer than it has to be. But as a gamer, he was an RPG enthusiast, enjoys a good story, and it makes for a good adventure. I grew up out in Chapley, on a street that was next to a trailer park, Pioneer Mobile Homes. My first friend was a girl who lived in the trailer literally across from my parents' house. All I had to do was just jump the fence and I'd be in her yard. Her name was Jody. One day we were taking a walk around the trailer park. Everything back then was pretty safe. Parents usually didn't care so long as you were within shouting distance and you were home before streetlights became on. She wanted to introduce me to a friend of hers who walked to the far back of the trailer park over a set of railroad tracks in the back corner. I'd never been to this area of the park before, so I didn't know which one he was at and didn't know what to expect. It was a nice day. I like to say it was spring, but it's been so long I can't remember. And as we were approaching the far back corner of the park, I saw this individual wearing a ski mask. Twirling a broomstick like a bow staff. Jody seemed oblivious to the entire situation, but I was scared. Thinking we were about to get jumped. And as we got closer, he started coming our way. When he finally got to us, Jody turned to me and said, "This is my friend John." That is a story that started my inclusion in his great adventure. We were close, almost inseparable. He was my first teacher in the martial arts. He would attend Taekwondo at Beachmont Community Center, and then he would teach me what he learned. Yes, greatest example. We would then, over the years, run across other friends who knew various other styles of martial arts, and we would share our collective knowledge. One of our favorite pastimes were having sleepovers, playing video games, and eating huge amounts of Debbie snacks, and drinking citrus punch and Tahitian treat, and trying to stay up all night like any kid always tries to do. He had a pretty similar liking to games that we played, mostly due to only having a regular Nintendo and limited game collection. So we had to rely on our parents to buy new ones, which is usually holiday times. I was always better at playing them, but he was better at reading the guidebooks and helping plan out strategies for particularly difficult levels. Because our parents weren't particularly wealthy, we had to become a couple of little entrepreneurs for our sleepover snacks. In the summer, we would mow lawns in the neighborhood. In the fall, rake leaves, shovel snow in the winter, and wash windows in the spring.
You hit his sister off more than once.
A couple of times, we'd set up a table at the entrance of Thornton's on the trailer park side because the opening was larger, and we would sell homemade lemonade and Kool-Aid. It still amazes me that we've known each other for years before finally introducing me to second edition D&D. I would have had so much more fun in a lot longer period of time. What good, strong relationships don't have their fair share of problems. However, as you can see, we've made it through them, and in doing so, our bond only strengthened. I've always been jealous of how easy it was for him being so open and friendly to everyone that he met. I was always shy and reserved, and could never bring myself to open up that easy. So I'd often use his charisma towards others and wait for him to open the introductions to newcomers. One of his goals was to bring smiles and laughter to everyone around him. As we got older, we also started to add a protective role towards those we found dear. When I was in high school, we started hanging out at the arcade, Screenplay, which was located behind Dixie Dozen Theaters, which is now Hobby Lobby. We were just a bunch of goths, run kids, hanging out, having fun. Over time, our little group grew, and the few of us original group had become the founders of what we had called the Peanut Gallery. Because we didn't want security to treat us like kids, we took it upon ourselves to keep the peace. We were open and friendly to everyone, and would even stop fights that we saw brewing. The owner of Screenplay was awesome. Cecil was his name. And would often give us regulars free drinks and gameplays on the arcades. It was during this time that we both met Randy and Jessica. The story of two friends finding love with two friends. As per our motto of the Peanut Gallery, in John's joyful personality, he obviously initiated communications by trying to cheer Jessica up. Though he never created the persona at the time, I believe it was the Peanut Gallery that was the inception of Pocket. However, things eventually took a negative turn. Dixie didn't like us kids hanging around, regardless of that we brought them a lot of money. So they tightened security, and we had to either leave or be inside the building. Randy, who John had loved, had a lot of health complications and would eventually pass away. This was the first time his depression took him away from me. He withdrew, and it would be a few years before I would find him again. This is when he introduced me to a few of my close friends, Kenny and Kevin, and Keith. This was our new D&D group, and eventually we would start going to the Half Moon Saloon to sing karaoke. We always had a thing for acting and singing. While growing up, we would memorize movies and musicals, intending to conduct plays, but not really doing so. So it was no big surprise that he started to shine on the stage. Again, I was jealous of how he would take every song that he sung and make it his. He had no fear when it came to singing. He would even do karaoke roulette, where he would let other people choose the songs that he would sing, and he would nail them. I was too scared to do that. I needed to know the song, and I would have to make sure that I memorized them. Though I was good at singing, I could not compare to him. And at some point, he got involved in a relationship, and I believed he was happy. And however, between her and another round of depression, I lost him again. It wouldn't be for a few more years that his silent suffering started to show to everyone. But he felt that he couldn't leave. He felt trapped. So I was finally able to show up and pull him back to his feet. And though he had a small reprieve, his depression still pulled him away. But at least he was out of the bad relationship, shackling him down. When I caught back up with him, he had found Aiden. He was different from how I remembered him. He was happy. He was busiest in various stage performances, and singing career exploded. And he was surrounded by a lot of wonderful people. Somewhere in all this, Pocket the Fool was born. And he became well known as the jester of Kentucky Renaissance Fair. Unfortunately, in these final years, I have had little contact with him for various reasons. On the rare occasions that we managed to talk, he was always happy and high-spirited. We've always been able to pick back up where we left off, regardless of how long we were separated. Everything considered, he is the reason I have most of the friends I have today. Mike Schmidt. Back in our old second edition D&D days. Kenny and Kevin Burkhart, Keith Pratt, and our third edition D&D games. Plus my introduction into publicly doing karaoke. Shannon Ragsdale, former instructor in Mudo, a form of martial arts. Mr. and Mrs. Whelan from the Ren Fair, as I near the end of writing the speech, more memories came to me on the things that we have done together, and I was introduced to because of them. It's impossible to remember and list everything without reliving it, and I tried to capture most of the memorable events. But while doing so, it reminds me of more things we've experienced together. It makes me wish that we could have been together to experience more. To say John was a friend, that would be wrong and disingenuous. He was family. The older brother that I never had. He built up a larger family than one I can imagine. If you look around, you can see that. Although this is a painful time for all of us that he left behind, I won't tell you not to grieve. You should. He was a bright star that shone brightly to many people. God would want you to grieve. Because yes, this is a sad time. And he'd appreciate seeing how much he's mattered to so many lives. But don't grieve too long. I'm sure that's not what he wants. Remember, his biggest, brightest quality was trying to bring smiles to everyone around him. So yes, grieve his loss. But remember, cheer up. And continue moving forward, because in the end, that, I believe, is what he would truly wish for.
My name is Schmidt. Many of you all know me, some don't. If you don't know me personally, you've at least heard of me, and it's because of this man here. A light has gone from this world. John taught me the definition of true friendship. He was the one that together we realized what people meant when they say true friends would help you move a body. I won't get into that story, but it was a thing. What many people don't know about John is often late at night when him and I have been hanging out, having fun, running games, after everyone had gone home, after the waitresses kicked us out of Waffle House, him and I would wax philosophical. We'd talk about the things that matter to us in life, and we'd reveal secrets we hadn't revealed to anyone else. I always told him that I was always jealous of how free-spirited he was, how freely he could explore any opportunity that came along in his life, how he could just pick up and find new friends, new family, and new experiences. He would often tell me that he was jealous of the life I had built for myself and my ability to take care of things, keep things together. And then we would move on to deeper, more troubling things and support each other. Many people didn't know, but John was burdened most of his life. Born late to his parents, his siblings much older than him. He felt like he was an accident. He felt like he was a burden and that he caused more work for those around him. He loved them dearly, but he was always worried that him being there would cause someone else to suffer, to have to do more, to worry. And one night, after one of our late night gaming sessions, he turned to me and said, "Schmitty, I don't ever want to feel that way. I don't want anyone to feel that way about me. I want to be a light. I want to bring joy." And I looked at him and I said, "John, then why don't you? You already have a power of charisma that makes people want to be in your presence." And he looked at me and he said, "It's that easy?" And I said, "John, you already do that." And he goes, "Really?" And so I start listing all of the things that he had done for me. I didn't know it at the time, but I am autistic. Most people looked at me and I was hyperactive, I was irritating, but I was brilliant and saw things that other people couldn't see. And he took that and he showed me how to use it to help people. He showed me how to be me without driving everyone bonkers. Unless I really wanted to. Which, believe me, we did. Mostly his parents and his sisters. And PJ's dad. And he taught me that I can be who I am, and I can be what I need to be, and that I can bring joy to those around me. He took what I told him that night and he made it his life's mantra. He leaned into his ability to make people chuckle, to make people smile, to make people laugh, and made it his life's work. The darkness was still there, but he had tempered it with his light. I was privileged that when the darkness got to him, he trusted me. And I was privileged to help him rekindle his flame. A light has gone from this world, and the world is dimmer for it. But we must all look to his promise, to his joy, and we must make it our own. We must take his light and we must spread it to those around us. We must take his promise to be a joy, to spread joy, and make it our own. John did not know a stranger. John only knew friends he hadn't made yet.
Yep.
I can bet you, I can count on one hand the people in this room who have seen John angry. And looking around, I'm gonna guess the number's around 3 or 4. Because I know most of them personally. God forbid you were ever on the receiving end of that. Because if you took this man and drove him to wrath, you had done something foul. He was the most accepting, most loving, most caring person I have ever known and ever will know. He didn't care who you were, what you believed in, who you loved, who you fought. He cared that you were you, and he cared that you tried to learn acceptance. As long as you could show love, John loved you. Well, his light is gone. It is not forgotten. And the responsibility is left to us to rekindle that light and take it forward. Shine on, my friend, my brother, compatriot. Your light is ours now to bury. Your light is ours, and we will carry it forward. And we will show the world the love they missed when you passed. Love you.
Hi, I'm Steve. John was one of my wonderful partners in the coalition called Clowns, and we shared a stage many a times. One of the very first acts we wrote together, the two of us met on an ill-conceived Tinder date. But John had this amazing ability to just boil a joke down to its essence, and just to find the right thing to make people funny or make people laugh. We used to call it "make funny later." And when we would get stuck, he would always unstick us. And in the first act we did together, he looked at me and he said, "You're good. You don't crack very easily." I'm gonna make you crack. So he throws this thing out at me, and I'm not gonna try to explain a joke because it's not gonna work. But I had to respond, so I responded with, "I sold the donkey into slavery." That was Sarah. But I would get him back. We had another production going later on, and I got the sound guy involved. And I was up on top of a ladder about 6 feet up. And I cued the sound guy, and the lights went dark. And the next thing anyone heard was my body hitting the stage. And then the ladder collapsing in
No.
this. Yeah. And you could hear everyone's rectum just slightly in the theater. And the lights came on, and I'm on the floor. And John was frozen. I got him. I got you. I got you, and all these people know now. He was a genius. Like, this guy could just bring the joy out of people, and everyone said that. But I have to say, in the end, in our game, he got me. I wasn't on stage, but when I got the news, he tripped me up. I'll always love you, dude. I will always carry your message on and remember you. But you win. And I won't forget that. For now. Thank you very much.
Oh, there's a lot more people than I expected behind me. Hi. I wrote everything on my phone so I could read it. But if I stop, if I drop, just someone come up and finish it, please. So, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of John's family, thank you all for being here, whether that's here in person or online with us. For those of you who may not know me, hi, I'm JoJo. I'm one of John's kids. I have the honor today to be speaking to you all about the life and legacy of John William Cowgell. He was a son, a brother, partner, uncle, cat dad, DM, master shenanigator, officiant, runny, haunter, and most importantly, a father. To know John was to be loved and valued by him. I was blessed to be brought into his family early on through the morgue and then through Ren Fair. Like a lot of you all, we bonded deeply over our love of Ren Fair. We used to talk about how Ren Fair was a Venn diagram made up of so many people, from history buffs, anime and comic book enthusiasts, cosplayers, Trekkies, Whovians, and D&D players alike. And something I had learned over the years about John was that he too was also a Venn diagram encompassing people from every walk of life. Even if you felt like you didn't belong, you now belonged in John's group. He was the embodiment of the sun and its rays. He exuded this warm, inviting energy that drew you in, and he heard about everyone that he never met. He always wanted to leave an interaction better than it had begun. Even if it was good, he wanted it to be great. He showed that his care and his love through everything that he did. His words, his actions, songs, selfies, memes, and most importantly, his good morning texts. Some of my favorite memories of John is him as pockets full, standing at the gates of fair in all of his jingly glory, staff in hand, talking to patrons as they walk by and saying, "And are you having a good day, my dear?" Because that was the embodiment of who John was. If someone was having a bad day, he would do everything in his power to get them to smile, whether it be with a joke, more importantly, a really bad dad joke, or he would woo you sometimes. He was the first person most people saw coming into Briarwood, telling everyone, "Welcome home." He was a caretaker, a shoulder to cry on, a hand to hold, and in my darkest days, I knew that I just had to text him and everything would be okay. When I made mistakes, he was there to remind me to give myself grace because the world is already a dark place and there's no reason for me to be cruel to myself. Even when he didn't have the time, he would somehow make the time, which, magic. He took his role as a father seriously and would always check in and make sure that he was doing his job properly, even though I would reassure him 1,000 times that he was. While I believed I wasn't cut out for playing D&D, I don't have the attention span for it. He let me into his world by being his DM in training. That way I could still be included somehow. No matter the environment, he would always just want to see people smile and have a good time. He taught me that power of a smile and kind words, on how to take pride in not only myself, but in the things that I do for others. And I am reminded of him every day. In comforting hugs, the sounds of bells, D&D dice, bottles of Dr. Pepper, songs owned by the mouse, especially one about a big old burlap sack with worms. And even here now, I see him in all of us. He signed his name on all of us with an indelible ink, leaving his legacy of compassion and love for all of us to honor. We honor him when we take care of ourselves, when we love ourselves and love each other to the fullest extent that we can. By our performances, our songs that we sing, maybe not in karaoke, but just in the shower. And the art that we create, by trying to be the best people that we can be, and living with the grace that some days we might not just get there. Mostly we honor him best by taking care of one another, for creating bonds that span past blood relationships, by saying, hey, you're my people, and I am here for you, whether you need me or not. And I will always be here for you, to be that parental figure to someone who needs it, to tell people how proud you are of them, to celebrate with them in times of good, but also to take care of them in times of grief, just like we are doing now. Coming together as a community, I've seen the messages, the videos, and the tributes that have been posted for all of us to be comforted by in this time of grief. Because as a wise AI once said, what is grief if not love persevering? Thank you.
Oh, wow. She's right. That's
It's startling.
yeah, it really is.
There's more to surprise.
I'm Jean. John's my little brother. I was the youngest of three. When I was 18, John was born. Awesome surprise. Mother told me 2 months before he was born that she was going to have a baby, and I dropped a bowl of mashed potatoes. I would have done it. He came into our life kind of quickly and just stayed there. He's awesome and amazing, and you all know how wonderful he is and much more about his life that's going on right now than I do. But I just feel it's important to share with you one moment of my life with John that I think that you will understand. When he was much younger, like under 10, he was doing a Valentine's Day thing. And he was making Valentines and talking about, I'm going to go give this to this little girl, and I'm going to go give this to this next door neighbor, and I'm giving this Valentine to this teacher, and this Valentine to this guy that works in the store down the street. And I mean, he just had this long list. And my mom was kind of a Debbie Downer about stuff like that. And so she's like, John, you can't give stuff to all these people. You can't love all those people. Quit. And he was just like, and so Mom turned and left, and he walked over there, and he grabbed my hand, and he said, she's wrong, my Jeannie. He's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to love everybody. And I look on Facebook, and I see the stuff that you've written, and I look out here at all these people here, and you know what? I think you did. Thank you.
Ethan?
Gravity's a harsh mistress. So is fate.
Aiden.
You could step on me.
You made me explain this to your cat. I told you back in August, if you up and died on me and it made me explain this to Clyde, I was going to kick your butt when I got to the afterlife. So just in case you missed the warning. 10
10 years ago, John and I said goodbye to the man who was the reason we met. And his brother couldn't be here today, although I know he's watching. And I couldn't help paying a little bit of tribute to that weirdo by starting this in a similar fashion. I only had just shy of 13 years. And I say only because he's hard to get, there's a lot going on there. I think that's the best way to sum that up. And there was no way even those who knew him most of his life could know every single facet of him. There's just too many of them. I had the distinct honor of bringing him into Briarwood. I met him at auditions for the murder mystery troupe, The Game Plays You. He showed up in full jester regalia. That staff, his original motley. And I walked into the speed for that, looked at a friend of mine and went, who the hell is that guy? We were friends about 5 minutes after we met. And I remember introducing myself. Hi, I'm Aiden. I work for the Kentucky Renaissance Fair. You want to join cast? He walked through the portal to Briarwood, and he found a home he never knew. And that place is never going to be the same without him. It's going to be a lot quieter. That goes for the campground too. But he's always going to be there. There's not a lot I can say that hasn't already been said. He and I may not have been together the last 2 years, but we were, whatever we were close. That never stopped. We still would stay up till 3 a.m. talking at the kitchen table about anything and everything. We still went to each other for advice, second opinions. Am I crazy? Am I imagining things, or is this real? Seeing everybody come together for this, I can't help but think that he's sitting wherever he is watching this going, and I'm missing the party. He'd want to be here. He wouldn't want to see all the people he loved hurting the way that so many are. He'd understand it, but he wouldn't want it. And I am sure, like JoJo said, he would have the perfect bad dad joke.
Yeah.
I'm not the best at writing in the moment, nor am I the best at coming up with things off the top of my head. But through everything that I've been through, John, I've known for the last 20 years. I was introduced to him through my stepfather, Schmitty. You all met him earlier. Quite a gruff old fellow. But
I prefer curmudgeon, thank you.
I prefer gruff, but you know, whatever floats your proverbial boat, you know. But John was always there for me to talk to, and no matter what it was about, and no matter what. And I don't have all the words right now, but I wrote them a while ago, shortly after I found out. There are moments where I think I'm alone, yet I know I'm not by myself. In my headspace, my personal mental home, I look at the memory shelf. Placed there ever so gently is a locket, one dressed in purple, black, and red. And I know here I have a friend in pocket, whose warm smile pushes away the dread. With solemn tears in my eyes and a heavy heart, I know that the next step will be hard to make, but I know that I have to take that start and carry on his memory for my sake. The weather may be dreary and gray, but they'll never stop this humble song, for I can always laugh and jingle away and get carried away in a simple sing-along. The torches is past, the bells will jingle, the dice shall roll, and the tales be told. 'Cause now you know why your laughs will tingle, and why my smile will never be winter's cold. A pun to be told, a joke to be had, the jester's laugh will never die. But for now, it's okay to be sad and let out our mournful cry. A pocket you'll always have, garbed in purple, red, and black. For grief shared is grief halved, and remember his hugs upon your back. Pocket was a man of many colors, of many lights, and above all else, he was a beacon. I can see that with everyone here now. He was a beacon of light for all of us, and always remember one thing that I learned from him. You are never too old to play the fool, for the fool is the wisest counsel to the king. And always remember, and always play, and keep jingling.
Boy, everyone kidding about the crowd.
You got this.
Hi, I'm Adrian, John's partner from Cincinnati. I met him less than a year ago at Schmitty's second D&D game.
I'm not responsible for that.
I am often shy and slow to connect with people, but that wasn't an issue with John. I think most of us here are familiar with how vibrant and open he was. And I think we both felt that connection pretty much right away. But particularly at the moment when I leaned over to him, I don't remember what he said to prompt me to say this, but I leaned over to him, he was sitting right beside me, and I just whispered, "Slut."
Yes, that's not right. That's not right. Yeah.
And the look he gave me, I knew it was either very good or very not so good. So when the conversation died down a little bit, I said to him, "I meant that respectfully, by the way." Turns out he wasn't bothered, quite the opposite. And apparently everyone else knew we were flirting before we did, and they were taking bets not on whether we were going to get together, but how long it would take. Where was I going with this? We started by just texting almost every day, just random thoughts. One day I asked him what his favorite dinosaur was. He loved that question. And we started having our virtual dates over Discord and then Facebook, because Discord was kind of wonky for us. And we sort of both jumped in with both feet. We shared our hearts with each other, opened up to one another. I found John when he was feeling especially uncertain about who he was and taking a break from his character Pocket. So I didn't really know him as Pocket. I knew him as just John, Liesel, Kazai, who let me sit on his cloud and offered me a lollipop. Purple one. And he was there for me in unexpected ways. Right when one of our virtual dates was starting, my mother, with whom I have been no contact for a while, stood in my doorway and demanded forgiveness. And I told her no. And I told her no again. And that went on for a while. And John saw the whole thing, just my end of it. But there I was, on camera in my most vulnerable moment in the past year. And he met me with support and care and love. And I always strove to do the same for him. And we were in similar points in our lives of uncertainty and change. And I'm so glad that we got to be there for each other through all of that. And even though I want to yell at everything and anything, that I got so little time with him, I don't regret it for a moment. And I will think of him every time I look up the book.
I wasn't going to do this. Well, I should introduce myself first. I'm Rachel, another one of John's partners. We're together almost a year. In fact, this coming Monday was going to be our year anniversary. And I share in the experience of feeling robbed. I'd known John for a long time. We met at fair, like a lot of people did, when he lured me into his Disney sing-along show and pulled me up on stage and sang to me, even though he met me 5 minutes, my favorite Disney love song. And I was supposed to sing with him, but as his cheat to win. But I'm pretty sure I stood up there the entire time with the dumbest grin possible on my face, because that's just how damn charming he was. And then our lives kind of circled around each other. I describe it as one of those like coin collectors they have in museums, where the coins you put in either side and like spin around and round and just cross paths occasionally, until at the end of it they're just together all the time. We had regular Thursday night date night, which he proposed this idea, and I was like, well, I don't have a lot of social spoons, so don't put a little pressure on this. But then it became just what we did. And I'm so grateful for the time I got with him. And the funniest thing with the Adrian before me calling John a slut. In his words, this year was his hoe era. That's, yeah, like I met him towards the beginning of that, I think, and then he was so excited because now with me being they, them, and then his partner Sammy, she, her, and then Adrian was he, him. He's like, I got the set. I remember how giddy he was about that. And just everything, like, made just the joy that just exuded from him at all times. And I'm sure you guys can see I'm not a very confident person. This is terrifying for me, but I know he would want me to do this. I know he would want me to stand up and tell our story. And as robbed as I feel, like hearing everybody's stories and getting to see parts of his life I had not touched, that I'd not seen, it's so amazing to me. And nothing will replace him, but just seeing just so many different facets of him, just things I had no idea about, but none of them have shocked me yet. It just says a lot about a person when within hours of his death being announced, there was over like 200 posts on Facebook, just instant. Everyone wanted to share their favorite story about him. Even people whose lives he had touched for maybe 5 minutes still remembered him, still remembered every nuance of the conversation they had with him and how accepted and loved that they felt. And I look forward to meeting more of you at different things, at fair, places like that, getting to know everybody that he loved and knew, just to continue to absorb that just person that he was through all of your perspectives. It's gonna be a tough go for all of us, and nobody has to be perfect. Nobody has to stand up and take the weight for everybody else, because that's not what he would have wanted. We all have to hold on to each other and lift each other up and just hug your people, love on your people. Don't let it go unsaid. For so long with John, when we were circling around each other, I was like, he'd never be interested in me. What am I doing? Because I fell in love with him on the spot. For him, it took him a while to realize, I think. And then finally, it took when we started actually going on dates, me like literally pouncing on him before he was willing to open up about it. I was going somewhere with this. I promise. Should have written this all down. I'm so sorry. I should have written this down. Yeah, just, people.
You're okay.
Just, I'm so sorry. I lost where I was going with this originally, but just, oh God, so many. He was always encouraging me to step up and make effort and to connect me to people and to things. And just. Okay. I'm so sorry. I just loved him so immensely, so intensely. A part of my life has been just wrenched away. But I've met so many people because of it and seen so much of the light that he's brought to everyone. And I'm just incredibly grateful for everything everyone has to say about him, and to just continue to see his story go forward in all of us. So we can't let it stop. We can't let
let it end. Sorry for my ill planning, but
No,
thank you.
no.
You're fine.
Thank you for hearing me out. John is just, he's amazing, and I'm gonna step down before I fall down.
You're not fooling anyone. My name's Ben. I first met John back in the 90s when I was working at the Haunted Hotel. First haunt I ever worked at. And a friend of mine had brought a friend, this guy, who looked like he was about 12, wearing a brown bomber jacket and a fedora, to hang out. He was just standing there while the rest of us were taking a break, and one of my friends just looks up and he says, "Jesus, I'm hungry." And John gets this look on his face, this, I got this. And he looks at the guy and he goes, "Hi, hungry, I'm John." And my first thought is, who the hell is this kid? And my second thought was, that was actually pretty good. I think my best memory of John, one of my best, God, I don't think I have enough room for all of them. He started working at the hotel with us, and we went on this thing called the Janie Morris Show. It was this like local talk show, like Wave 3. And we decided to all go down there in costume as a promo for the hotel, and I was dressed like this just big giant guy with I was dressed as myself. And John, who I didn't know as Pocket or John, but as John Moore. John was wearing a pink ball gown, an orange fright wig, and enough makeup to look like he was the only survivor in a head-on collision with an Avon truck. And he made it look good. And we go in there and we're sitting around and Jane Norris is just conducting the interview with the owner of the hotel, a guy named Greg DeFada, and we're just kind of hanging around, looming over her like, "Hi. Don't mind us." Except for John. John is nowhere on the stage. And I look up and John is off stage behind the camera woman. Crouching. Waiting. Grinning. This little coiled spring of maniacal glee. Looked at Greg and Greg nodded. And John, little John, grabs the camera woman, throws her over his shoulder, and runs up like, "Ah!"
Right. That's him.
That was probably the most sane thing I've ever seen him do. And at the end of the day, we all went to Denny's, and John was just being John. He wasn't being rigor mortis. He wasn't being Pocket. I mean, Rig would get a grin like this. Pocket would go. But John would smile. He would smile, and you felt like the only person in the world he was smiling at. Sorry. Christopher Moore wrote that a jester is someone who is taught to entertain people and laugh, to make them feel like they are loved and happy no matter what wall separates them, or worse. Arthur Kessler said, the jester is brother to the sage. But John was more than a brother. He was our family. He was my friend. And honestly, sometimes your heart isn't big enough to hold the memories and hold the love. But John would shoehorn his way in and make you love him and make you appreciate what you had for while you had it. And I swear to God, I walked in here and I saw him there and I had expected him to jump out from behind that damn curtain and go, gotcha!
I doubt you were the only one.
Same. I expected him to go, ah! You're an absolute shit, you know that? But you're our shit. We love you.
The good thing about public speaking, I'm legally blind. I can't see you all, so I won't get nervous, but I can see and feel the love in this room for John. My partner and I met John right around the end. We only got to know him for about 2 months before we lost him. But in the first meeting with John, I felt this kinship with him. He made me laugh and feel so good. At a point, I was having a rough year, and the first joke, and I will always remember this with him, he said his name. Oh, my name is John Cowgell. And I look back and wait, did you say John Cowgirl? And he's like, oh yes, that too. And I went, okay. We met him doing interviews at Nerd Holla. And he was like, I'm ready for my interview. I want to do my interview. When do I get to do an interview? Interviewed him, like, we'll get to you. And it was one of the greatest interviews I had the privilege of doing with somebody. And then he decides to invite us to Waffle House like we were old friends. And we almost got chased out of there too. It was literally 1 a.m. when we left. I don't know what it is about John, but apparently all his stories end with going to Waffle House or Denny's or staying there for hours and driving people crazy. John's jokes, even though bad and daddish, he made you feel loved. He made you feel warm. He made you feel invited. And when he told me he had an extended, huge family, I get to see that here and now. And I'm so privileged that I got to be a part of it at the end, at all, because he made me feel good. And in the time I got to talk to him, I told him I was having a rough patch. I was having some dark spaces in my head. And he talked to me. 10 minutes is all it took for his love to hit me, and all that pain and all that misery just magically went away, and I don't know how. I wish, and I'm jealous of all of you, because I just wanted a few more minutes with him. A day, a second. I think that I got any time at all with him because of how awesome and special and amazing this man was. I felt like I lost a brother when I got the news. It felt like someone punched me in the gut. And I thought it was a joke, like, oh, haha, that's funny. John's not, haha. And then I saw the posts go more and deeper, realizing this wasn't a joke. And he was taken from us. I look forward to getting to know all of you, because one thing I know as a Buddhist is that the light that he carried is still in every single one of you, and you all carry a piece of him. Buddha once said, the light of illumination never truly dies, for as long as we carry our loved ones in our hearts, their life, their energy will never die, and they will live forever. because we keep them forever. So let's do that. Let's reminisce. Let's remember the good and the bad, because John would want us to remember both the positive and the negative, because that's what made him the amazing man that he was. John, thank you so much for being a part of my life and letting me be a part of yours. Although it was short, I can't thank you enough for being my brother. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I'm short. I apologize.
I'm sorry, I'm too tall. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Hi. Biologically, I'm John's niece. We were only 8 years apart in age, so he was more like my big brother. And I loved his large extended family, because if you were lucky enough to be part of his born family, you kind of got thrown into all of the extended family, whether you wanted to or not. It didn't matter. So I got to grow up with Smitty and PJ, and I got to be part of the karaoke family and the haunt family for a while, and the Ren family, and it was just, my siblings and I all laugh because it doesn't seem to matter where we go or what we do. We go to school, my little sister's at university, we, get new jobs, and everywhere there's someone that knows him. And then they're like, how do you know him? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm his niece. And they're like, really? And immediately that's, oh, well, I have to tell you this, and all of that. And I just get to hear so many things, and it never ceases to amaze me that he was capable of doing that. Because I never was, not very good at that. Most of my siblings aren't. We're all pretty shy. I don't think that man had a shy bone in his body.
You have one.
Did he have one? He did it really well.
It was hiding.
Really well. And I loved hearing all the stories of his life. And I like that not very many people got to see the darker sides of him. I know that there were a few. Like Smith said, I've only ever seen him angry once in my life that I can remember, and it wasn't at me, thank God. But he's literally one of my favorite people, and I am sure that he is probably a favorite memory or a favorite person to everyone here. So I just want you to know that you are literally part of John's family, which he just adopted everyone. It is huge. And I like that we are all here for each other and for everything. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Time, 2 more.
I'll make it quick, but not too long ago we started a variety show, and the whole point that we really wanted to do it is because I wanted everybody who came to feel that they were enough by being themselves when they left. And I couldn't have had a better teacher how to do that. We had very few shows together, but I learned so much in that short amount of time. Got to make everybody feel loved. And the biggest compliment that we got, and I know this guy's a big part of it, after the show was, this room is filled with love. And it's because of him.
You know, I saw some people leaving, and I was kind of hoping most of you would. Hi. I fall into that category of people that knew, like, way later, like the past 2 years, kind of later. I'm gonna cry a lot. I'm really sorry. But God, what a part of my life he's been in 2 years. Like, not as much as some, but like, you know, like somebody that you just kind of think about all the time. Like, just as like a hi. Like the roughest 2 years of my life. And it started with one of the best people in my life. Because my friends were like, hey, go to Ren Fair. You're really busy all the time, you don't do anything, so go to Ren Fair. You should really come meet Pocket. And I was like, okay, cool. Because they said a lot of really fun things about him and made him sound really, really exciting, and he was. And I was super, super nervous because I'm really bad with new people that I think I'm supposed to be friends with, but he like makes you friends. And next thing I know, I'm going through the Ren Fair, and he's going, hey, look at these. So I'm like, hi. And so we went through the entire Ren Fair in I think like 10 minutes. And then I had to go back through like 6 more times. And then we're standing by the gate, and he goes, can I woo you? And I was like, I don't know what that entails, but sure. And now I will forever have this really fond memory that thank God lives on my phone of him just serenading me in front of a lot of people. Like, not like people are watching, but like people are walking by, and I'm like, oh my God, nobody's gonna have context. This is gonna be and nobody bats an eyelash because it's Pocket being Pocket. And then I went to my store manager and said, hi, I need every weekend off for the next 2 months. Because I'm gonna go to the fair. And I made new outfits every day, and I made sure that I started my morning off with going to see Pocket, which then turned into me going to see JoJo, which then turned into me smuggling orange soda into the Ren Fair. In the weirdest ways, don't ask. The ladies at the gas station have a lot of concerns. But I met so many people that I cherish so much. I made a whole nother little family that put up with me when I don't talk to anybody. And Pocket was one of those people who, you know, texts you good morning all the time, even when I'm super stressed and overwhelmed and I don't answer. And God, I wish I answered more often, but he would text me good morning anyway, knowing that I saw it. And when I would see him and I would apologize for not saying anything, he would say, hey, did you see it? Did it make you feel better? Then that's enough. And he's just one of those people that made you feel like you were enough when everything else feels terrible. And it's really sad that he goes when it feels like we need him most. And there's an Avatar The Last Airbender reference in there somewhere. But it's kind of amazing that he mattered to so many people in so many different things. And it's been really exciting to hear all the different stories. And for all of you that go to Ren Fair, and for those of you that don't, you should. But next year we can all share those stories because we all knew him and we're all better for it. You know, better people, better caregivers, more attentive. So, yeah, so be like Pocket, say good morning, or, you know, just make somebody feel better. And we can all talk about it at Ren Fair. So, see you in the summer.
I'm gonna keep this short. I met John last May at a wedding he officiated. Some of you have heard about the Deadpool mask. My friend loved Deadpool, and he, in the middle of a hot May outdoor wedding on a roof, wore that mask the entire time and officiated that wedding. And then he kept it on during most of the reception. So what I can say about John is he was dedicated. He was a dedicated friend. He was a dedicated performer. He was a dedicated person in general. I was lucky enough to have a lot of interaction with him online. Unfortunately, not in person because life gets in the way and cars suck. But I was honored to be his friend and get to know him better. Luckily for me, he did start giving me those good morning texts he seems to be popular for, which I adore because he knows that I struggle. And I do know that his light is gone, but I look out and I see so many lights he started, and I think that's beautiful. I'm sorry.
Nothing to apologize for.
But I have to say, as I wrap this up, this is probably the most beautiful celebration of life I've ever seen. I've never seen so many colors, so many beautiful sounds. And if I'm a quarter this loved in my life, I will consider myself lucky. And if I'm gonna love half as hard as he loved, I know I'll be a good person. So, I love you, Pocket. Thank you for letting me call you Pocket because I struggled with John's in the past and he accepted that. And he could just be Pocket for me. And I appreciate that he just accepted my struggle and what I needed. And I see now that he did that for everybody. And it couldn't be more beautiful than that.
Last one. One last one. No, I just like, sorry, I have to cut. So I'm gonna have to cut this a little short. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Yes, by the way, carpet is not my friend right now. I've almost broken my ankle 3 times. But if he could talk right now, he'd tell you that that was a normal thing, even if I'm in bare feet. Absolutely no coordination. I met Pocket in 2022 at the Renaissance Fair. My friend Jenny actually introduced us at the gate, and much like you, his first reaction was, "Hey, can I woo you?" No idea what that meant. But he did ask me, "Would you like me to sing or spoken word?" I didn't know if this man could sing, and I know that I can't, so I just played the safe card and said, "Sure, why don't you just talk?" This was the first time I've been to a Renaissance Fair since I was 10. My family is very against them, so, but I can see I have a brand new family now through Pocket and through you all. And I don't know all of your names, I don't recognize a lot of your faces, but I can tell you that I love each and every one of you just as much as he probably did. I hear a lot of people saying, his light is gone, and I'm not gonna argue, but I will say that I disagree with that. His light is in every single one of us. And I stand by the fact that the best way to remember him and to memorialize him in our own hearts is to follow his example. None of us will ever be him, and none of us ever should be him. But we can try it to the best of our ability to do what he did, and that was just to spread love and happiness and joy to everybody he came into contact with. There is a quote at the end of one of my favorite animes, if you will, season 1 of episode 4. It says, "When we hit our lowest point, we're open to the greatest change." And I think that that's very, very true. This is probably the lowest I've been since I was 14 when my mother passed away. He was as close as she was to me. But he taught me how to love people. It doesn't matter if you're a girl, you're a boy, you can be glowing purple and have 3 heads for all I care. If you're a person, I love you. And I thank him for teaching me that. And I will say that this is probably the most beautiful and the most colorful and hands down the jingliest celebration of life I have ever been a part of. But he wouldn't want it any other way, and I don't think any of us would either. He wanted us to come as ourselves, and that's exactly what we did. I'll end this by saying, to those of you who don't know, a couple of friends of mine, and I have expressed this to Aiden too, we are trying to get a hold of the Kentucky Renaissance Fair admins to dedicate a day specifically for John Cowgell. We're hoping to call it Bells for Cowgell.
bells for John. So if any of you can help us with that, we would be greatly appreciative. That was his second home, and we will see him there every day in some way, shape, or form, and each and every person that is there with their bells. I love you, John, and I'll see you around again.
Okay, so now for the part that I actually find the hardest with this all. So before we leave, I want you to do us all a favor and remember the words of every circle that opens. Marry me, marry part, and marry meet again. Please remember that you are loved. His message means that alone. Blessing for us all that a friend said was a blessing of friendship. My lady and my lord, I know that you will guide us and parent us all. I thank thee for our family, our friendship, and who by your sight are our brothers and sisters. Please guide us, support us, continue to watch over us as we part, our ancestors. And John, I request that you know that we loved you, that we do love you still. And you always know you are cherished. As above, so below, blessed be.
So, hi, I'm Jessica, basically John's sister-in-law. As everybody knows, Ren Fair always ends with a song. John always ends with a song. I hope you all got some copies. If not, Aiden's coming around with some. Everybody please sing along, because I really don't know if I'm going to make it through this, all right? This is the parting glass. Yeah, right. Dude. I've been listening to all these stories, and I'm trying not to cry too much. Try not to tell myself. Yes. I asked this woman a few days ago to do this with me because she does have a lovely voice.
All the money that e'er I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I've done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for
So with that, I thank you. Have a wonderful night.
John! Hip hip!